Hello all and welcome to this reflection for the first Sunday after Trinity or the second Sunday after Pentecost. I wonder how you all are this week. I have to confess, this week has been a hard week mentally and emotionally for me. Following the Scottish Government's announcement that those in the clinically very high risk category are to continue to shield until the 31st of July, combined with a slew of meetings and paperwork about lifting the lockdown in the communities and churches I serve, I have been struck with a fit of the glums. Everyone else seems to be moving forward and I seem to be treading water. So, what do the readings for this week have to say into that situation? Well, I'm afraid initially the reading from Romans really annoyed me. We boast in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not disappoint us. Yeah. After all, in contrast to what many experience, the persecution, hatred, violence, the requirements of lockdown are as nothing. So I was left feeling guilty at the way that I'm kicking at the goads. So I moved on. The reading from Matthew is the choosing and subsequent sending out of the disciples into the wider world to preach the words of Jesus, to heal and to soothe. I'm stuck in here, was my inward cry. It feels like being asked to live my vocation with one hand tied behind my back. And the reading from Exodus. If you obey my people and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession out of all the peoples. Well, to be honest, I wasn't feeling a particularly treasured possession of God at this moment in time. As you can see, I was really not having a particularly positive week. Then I read the psalm, and the last verse really struck home. The Lord is good. His steadfast love endures forever, and his faithfulness to all generations. All of the readings speak of a God who, no matter what happens in the world, has not abandoned us. A God who draws us out of the wilderness into a relationship with him. A God who sends others to help us in times of darkness or despair. A God who can use whatever situation we go through for our greater good, even if it does not feel like it at times. Please note, I'm not saying such situations come from God, but that God can use them and work through them. We have a God who was and who is and who will be ever faithful to God's people. No matter where we are or what we are doing, God will not turn his back upon us, even if we turn our backs upon him. Actions speak louder than words, and the story of the Bible, whether you see it as fact or fiction, shows a God who is eternally faithful to his people, who is wise and merciful beyond our understanding, a God who acts with integrity, whose compassion and love for his people sometimes overrules his laws. And we live in a world where that faithfulness and integrity is often undervalued, or more often spoken of than put into practice. We have leaders who talk of such things and then try to justify their own unethical behaviour. We live in a world where broken promises and bad behaviour abound. You can probably think of a few. None of us are immune from this. They colour our thinking and can easily spill over into our view of God. God is the only one who is completely faithful. God is all-powerful. He is strong enough to carry out every promise in his timing, not ours. He is totally truthful. God does not lie. God is unchanging. We may change, he does not. His promises are the same yesterday, today, and forever. He is omnipresent. He's there everywhere. He's perfectly capable of fulfilling his promises for everyone, in every place, at every time. God, in his wisdom, knows what we can cope with and what we cannot. Whether we feel like it or not, we are his treasured possession, and as such, he cares for us. He sends out labourers, workers to help where there is need. For us at this time, this may come from the communities in which we live, from our friends, from our family, from the church, from an email, a phone call, from a letter. It may come from a socially distanced doorstep chat or walk with a friend. Often it comes from people who do not think they have anything themselves to give, who underestimate their own strength and abilities. Those who feel they have been sent out with no cloak and no shoes. I have a God who has never let me down as I look back over my life so far. And I am choosing to trust and believe that he will use this current situation for the greater good in my life and the lives of those who care for. I have a faithful God. Great is thy faithfulness, O God my Father. There is no shadow of turning with you. Amen.